hello there. In a recent Lenny letter essay, Jennifer Lawrence joined in on the wage gap discussion, saying that she did not rake in as much as her male counterparts in American Hustle because of poor negotiating skills, saying, quote, "I didn't want to seem difficult or spoiled at the time. That seemed like a fine idea until I saw the payroll on the internet and realized every man I was working with definitely didn't worry about being difficult or spoiled." Now, this week, UFC champion Ronda Rousey joined in with her own thoughts on the pay gap.
I think that how much you get paid should have something to do with how much money you bring in. I'm the highest paid fighter, not because Dina and Lorenzo wanted to do something nice for the ladies. They do it because I bring in the highest numbers. They do it because I make them the most money. And I think that the money that they make should be proportionate to the money that they bring in.
All right, here to weigh in is Hadley Heath Manning. She's the Director of Health Policy at the Independent Women's Forum. Hadley, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
It's so nice to have you back. Now, are you surprised to hear the wage gap discussion go in this direction?
Well, it's a little bit of a surprise, but I think it's reflective of the evolution of this discussion nationwide. You know, we had a presidential debate last week where Democrats mentioned pay equity a couple of times, but thankfully they didn't mention the 78 cents on the dollar trope, that statistic that doesn't really tell us much. It's a statistical average. But I believe that these comments from stars Jennifer Lawrence and Ronda Rousey are evidence that we are moving in a more honest and fruitful direction when it comes to how to talk about women in the workplace.
Yeah, and I want to talk about Jennifer Lawrence because she brings up a really good point. And this is one of the reasons why women oftentimes don't see pay equity with their male counterparts is they don't ask for more money.
That's right. And I think there are two unhelpful extremes that this discussion sometimes goes to. Sometimes people say, well, sexism really isn't an issue. Women should quit whining. And it's their fault if they're not earning enough money. And then on the other hand, an unhelpful extreme is to say that women are 100% victims in the situation, that if women aren't paid the same as men, that's a result of the patriarchy. And it's refreshing to see Jennifer Lawrence say, you know what, I have some agency. I have some control over what happens to me in my career. I have the power to negotiate and I have the power to stand up for myself. So I think this is a more nuanced discussion about pay equity, but a helpful one.
Yeah, and she also did get paid $1 million less than each of her male counterparts, but she also worked fewer days. And in all fairness, she could have revealed that fact as well to round out the debate. But, you're absolutely right when you talk about the 78 cents on the dollar. That's one of those meaningless statistics, like the 1%, because it really only tells part of the story, as you pointed out. And Hillary Clinton cannot stand on stage and cite that half fact when she herself was guilty of that, paying her Senate staff.
That's right. And, this is just another one of those moments where I'm afraid that, fact checking comes in handy. When you talk about 78 cents on the dollar, this is not a measure of equal pay for equal work. Just like when you mentioned the number of days that Jennifer Lawrence worked on American Hustle. When you look behind that 78 cents on the dollar statistic, it doesn't take into account the number of hours that people work per week or what fields they're working in, how many vacation days they have, what kind of flexibility they have on the job. And often women are the ones who want those options, who desire to have more flexibility on the job and who work in fields that are more attractive to them for whatever reason. So if we want to have a discussion about whether or not women and men are being treated fairly in the workplace, I would say this is not a partisan issue. Everyone agrees that equal pay for equal work is a value. It's part of, what we believe as Americans. It's not something that Democrats favor and Republicans are against.
Yeah.
It's important that we bring some of these other issues to light about negotiation and about market forces. As Ronda Rousey pointed out, she's valuable. That's why she's so well paid.
Okay, and the last thing is when I hear Democrats talking about this issue, my big worry is that somehow they're going to try and force government regulations. And wouldn't that be the worst solution to this problem?
Absolutely. That would be the opposite of progress. There's some legislation that's already been proposed called the Paycheck Fairness Act. And the problem with this legislation is that it really inverts our justice system. People in the United States are innocent until proven guilty. That's the way our justice system is supposed to work. But the Paycheck Fairness Act would basically put the burden on employers to prove their innocence, to prove that every decision they've made about pay is consistent with business necessity. And that's the wrong direction because it limits their ability to be flexible in offering individual people a value and compensation based on their their individual, what they bring to the table. So this is absolutely a discussion we need to have, because if we as women want those options like telecommuting, working from home, having some workplace flexibility, the Paycheck Fairness Act and other strict regulatory schemes like it stand in the way of that kind of progress.
And no one's going to stand in the way of Hadley. Heath Manning, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.